If you've been wondering how to find and nurture authentic business connections in Denver and personal ones as well, this podcast episode is for you. The other day, I was working a side hustle at the Outdoor Retailer Show. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this event, it's basically where people in the outdoor space show all of their new products by sourcing materials for clothing, equipment, so on and so forth, and talk about all things specific to outdoor concerns, such as climate change and the impact of that change on the industry, just to name a few of the areas of focus. It's a huge event that now is hosted in Denver, that was hosted in Utah for many years until its subsequent switch to here. This was the third time I've worked the show, and I'd met a ton of people running Colorado local businesses, creating cool products, and just doing cool things out in the outdoor space. Basically, these were the kind of people I wanted to share, support, and collaborate with via my Square State project. And one of the people that I worked with during that week was a super cool guy who shared that he and his girlfriend were looking to move back east. And we were kind of discussing why. Like, I was like, why are you moving back? What was your experience like living in Denver? And he brought up that while he had a good experience, that there was one area of difficulty that was a problem. And that area was his inability to break into his field. Where he had a certain area of focus, a certain type of business he wanted to get into, but he was finding it really difficult to make the connections in order to make that happen. I've actually heard this from other people, and I'd heard it from someone else that week. In her case, though, she was a little, cray-cray, so I think in her case it was because she's crazy. But it's not the first time that I've heard people say that it was difficult for them to make the connections they needed in order to get a foot in the door. So in this week's episode, I thought it would be really helpful to share how to make authentic personal and professional connections in Denver. And sorry, guys, the ladies actually have a better ecosystem for doing this. To get to the show notes, you'll go to squarestateco.com/how-to-network in Denver. Again, that's squarestateco.com/how-to-network in Denver. You can grab your free Colorado guide as well when you get to the show notes, so make sure you grab that. This show's sponsor is Brightside Ice Cream, a dairy-free, delicious ice cream made locally. I'm lactose intolerant, so sometimes I just am really sad because I love cheese and ice cream and all the things that milk makes, but milk does not like me. So Brightside is absolutely delicious. You can get it at Nooch Vegan Market, or you can even have it delivered. Make sure you look at the map on their website to see where they deliver. It's made in small batches, absolutely delicious. You got to give it a try. Support Square State by becoming a Patreon. There's 3 different ways you can support it. $3 a month, or the equivalent of a cup of coffee. Support the ongoing expense of producing the show. $9 a month to gain access to monthly giveaways from your favorite Colorado companies. So basically a swag bag, information on job-related leads, savings information around town, events, and more. So that's $9. And then share your Colorado-based business via pre- or end-roll sponsorships on the show. That is $300 for a 3-episode sponsorship. Has a different vibe when it comes to networking. Some places, they really focus on going to actual networking events. Denver is a little different in the sense that it has its own specific vibe as it relates to building professional connections. But what's unique about Denver, in my view, is that there's a particular focus on fitness-based activities to foster those connections. It is not unusual to talk about the type of training you're doing for a race, the type of activity that you enjoy doing, or what ski pass you picked up to hit the slopes this year. So tip number one, if you are looking to really meet people out there and connect, is to join a fitness-focused group. Do you love skiing, hiking, biking, rock climbing? Whatever it is you like to do, there is definitely a group out there for you. Currently, I'm involved in the following groups. Outdoor Afros. That is actually an amazing community that has activities created with people of color in mind, as well as allies. So it's not just Black people or Hispanics or what have you going on these events. It's all kinds of people, but with the really specific focus of making sure that people of color are getting out there and enjoying outdoor places in a fun and comfortable way. Trails and Ales, the OG of Denver-based hiking groups on meetup.com. I absolutely love Trails and Ales. They are some of the nicest people I've ever met. What I love about them too is they carpool. So they're really good about having carpools to the different events. Make sure that you, of course, pay your driver for the gas. I'm also a member of a ski and snowboarding group that I always miss on Meetup as well, but they have amazing events that they organize, including a trip to Steamboat Springs. And I take a Groove 3 hip hop fitness class, which is my current fitness obsession. Absolutely love Groove 3. You should check it out at Passion Force Yoga, or I think it's Passion Force Movement. But anyway, if you Google it, you'll find it. Tip number 2, focus on targeted short-term volunteer roles or side hustles. So I love side hustling at the Outdoor Retailer Show because I'm able to meet hundreds of Colorado local attendees doing cool things, and they are focused on the outdoors. This is 100% in alignment with the 3 specific areas of focus for Square State, which are to share and support Colorado-based products, programs, and businesses and people, to create authentic and meaningful connections between newly arrived and lifelong citizens, and finally, to normalize seeing POC faces in outdoor places. Yes, I do go hiking, camping, snowboarding. It's normal, not a big deal, but for some people, it seems like it is, so I want to normalize that. So Outdoor Retailer was a perfect fit for what I'm working on and who I want to connect with. So for you, what I would say is spend some time looking into opportunities to support programs and projects in your field and meet people in a low-key, low-pressure way. So instead of finding volunteer roles that are 6 months long, help volunteer for an event like during the week of the event, the day of the event, because a lot of us don't have a lot of time. But those short-term volunteer experiences could have very big impact on your ability to connect with people in town. And it's really funny because to me, even though Denver is, in my view, now a city compared to when I was little, it's still a big little city in certain aspects. It's very easy for me to run into people that I met in one other place and have them say, oh yeah, like I remember meeting you at such and such place. It happens all the time. So that is why I would really encourage you to volunteer in this way, because it's not hard to run into these people again. So just as a thought. So tip number 3, join business-focused Facebook groups. Sorry guys, but the ladies in Denver have a clear edge when it comes to having online communities that will support and nurture their work. It's just, there is a great ecosystem for women in particular in terms of the online / offline groups that have been nurtured and created in town. So you might find that there's an online presence, but that they do a lot of stuff offline. And these groups are all slightly different, but they're still very collaborative. And there's no, like, I belong to several of them. I don't hear any of the people chit-chatting about the other groups. They just don't do it. They just let people know what's out there, and it's glorious. So I will let you know which groups are women specific from this list. I will continue to add to this list. So say, for example, you're listening to this episode a year from now, make sure you go to the show notes, because I'm going to continue adding groups to the list in the show notes. So first group, Denver Founders Meetup, Colorado Startups, Freelancers Spark Union, Denver Bloggers Club. There are men in that group, by the way, and they're doing really well. Women of Denver, Denver Boss Babes, Women Who Start Up. So those are some of the online communities here in Denver that you should consider joining. Tip number 4, start your own community. Sometimes you just have to empower yourself in order to get the result that you need and get stuff done. If you're struggling to find community, then create the community that you're looking for. Meet in free places. Use Facebook events, meetup.com, Eventbrite to share your event. Market on social media and via word of mouth. Collaborate with local businesses in order to hold your event. So don't go all out of pocket for this. Be very thoughtful about how you can collaborate with locally run businesses to support your vision without losing money. So it could be that you do a pop-up event partnered with another company and they get publicity because you guys are all in their space. Maybe they have to be open for 2 hours, and that's like the equivalent of 2 hours worth of wages for someone to be there, but that's much cheaper than spending like thousands of dollars to host an event in a space. You know what I mean? So think creatively so that you don't have to spend a lot of money. Host at the Commons on Champa. If you are a member there, that is an amazing place to host events. I've hosted events there and I love that place. It's just such a wonderful community. In fact, I'm typing that into my notes now. Just be proactive about finding the community that you seek. Tip number 5, create your own digital community. So at the time I'm recording this episode, it's February 2020. There is no reason why you can't create a digital community for your specific area of interest. You could grow that community and then host an in-person event, again, at a restaurant that sponsors the food for your event. Be creative. Spend some time thinking about this. In my view, it's actually very easy to position yourself as an authority in Denver and grow your business connections. It's easy to meet people here. I find that there are fewer gatekeepers to navigate through compared to other cities, and I base this on conversations that I've had with other people, what I've noticed, and also conversations that I've had with my friends in other cities where they're like, it's so hard to get to the person who makes the decision, whereas here I find it pretty straightforward. Please remember the following. These are my final pieces of advice. Be proactive. A closed mouth doesn't get fed. Let people know that you need help connecting with people in your space. You would be surprised at the number of random people, picking up a cup of coffee at my favorite local, coffee shop, and the barista will be like, oh yeah, like my uncle does da 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 da, or my sister is doing this, or my barista might be part of a team launching a new restaurant, which actually is the case. One of my favorite baristas is part of the team at Somebody People, which is a new plant forward restaurant in Denver that's getting all these accolades. And you would be surprised who knows what and who's connected with what. Never assume. Never assume. And then finally, connect in ways most comfortable for you. Don't rely on networking events. I find that regular networking events are not great at fostering ongoing organic connections, and they're a lot of unnecessary pressure. You're not normal in those spaces, I think, as you would be at your Groove 3 dance class. You know what I'm saying? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Square State. If California and Texas had a wild love affair, Colorado would be the result. Till next time, bye.